So this is lecture 36. I want to talk about the recent farewell address by the Nobel laureate Secretary Stephen Chu. Of course, I'm an economist, and of course, he's the Secretary of Energy. Here's a picture of the Nobel laureate. It's a good-looking American flag. Not actually sure what that flag over his left shoulder is with the bald eagle. I have to look that up. So here's a direct quote from his farewell. This is a quote of him, not me. Ultimately, we have a moral responsibility to the most innocent victims of adverse climate change. Those who will suffer the most are the people who are the most innocent, the world's poorest citizens and those who have yet to have been born. There's an ancient Native American saying, quote, "We do not inherit the land from our ancestors, we borrow it from our children." A few short decades later, we don't want our children to ask, what were our parents thinking? Didn't they care about us? So clearly Secretary Chu is talking about the collective action problem that we have not passed at the national or global level, carbon mitigation legislation, and he is disappointed, to say the least, that greenhouse gas emissions continue to grow. Many reasonable people see climate change as a serious challenge, and that we are dropping the ball collectively. I agree with every single word of that, but there's a little bit of naivety on his part that just because a government is not stepping up to solve a collective action problem, that doesn't mean that there aren't individual efforts at the firm and individual and city level to address these challenges. There's a question how far these individual and corporate efforts can go. And of course, what I'm talking about is climate change adaptation. He seems to be saying that we unintentionally are going to be giving our children and our children's children a horrible future because we didn't hit the brakes now. And I have mixed feelings here. It's as we saw with Hurricane Sandy, there's an open question. What is the link between higher greenhouse gas emissions and the frequency and intensity of storms? But now that we've been hit with that shock, we are taking efforts to mitigate future shocks, and reasonable people and firms and coastal property owners anticipate these shocks. And so I think you need to make a distinction here between mitigation and adaptation. And of course, that was a key theme in my Climatopolis, that I predicted that greenhouse gas emissions are going to continue to rise, but we're going to see an acceleration of adaptation efforts. And the devil's in the details of how far adaptation can take us in reducing the damage caused by climate change. And Stephen Chu is being a little politically correct here, implicitly saying that geoengineering and adaptation can't take us anywhere near at all in protecting the world's poor or each other from climate change. And I think that this is blatantly false. All over the world, we have seen poverty declining. Many parts of Africa are growing right now, as is Southeast Asia, and rising reductions in poverty and rising per capita incomes are our best strategy for adapting to climate change because of the food such individuals can eat, the quality of the products they can purchase, and the resources through paying taxes that their governments can access to provide public goods, whether it's information or resource pricing, for protecting people from climate change's shocks. And so there's a jump in Stephen Chu's argument here. Yes, we have not put a cap on greenhouse gas emissions at the global level, but we know that not having done so has consequences, and there's many reasonable individuals and firms beginning to take actions out of self-interest and out of the profit motive to protect us from the anticipated changes of climate change. And the combined efforts, these individual decentralized efforts in a Hayek sense, I believe are going to go far for protecting us from climate change. The world spans a very large geographic area. We may grow food in different places. We may live in different places. But we are always rebuilding our cities. That creates jobs, that creates economic activity. While World War II might have gotten us out of the global depression, maybe adapting to climate change will get many nations out of their current recession. If a nation like Greece were to build in safer places, wouldn't that create construction jobs for the people of Greece? So that's half a joke, but it's to show you that challenges also create opportunity. And I'm much less fatalistic than Dr. Chu here. His Nobel Prize was not in social science. And I think it's important to have a debate about when collective action fails, Are we doomed, or how far can individual efforts by individuals and firms take us to adapt to the real challenge of climate change?